3, 2.
Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to our weekly media briefing and public health update with Montgomery County Executive Mark Eldridge. I'm Public Information Officer Mark Roper, and joining us today are Dr. Nina Ashford, Chief of Public Health Services, Dr. James Bridgers, Director of the Department of Health and Human Services, Mr. Sean O'Donnell, Deputy Chief of Public Health Services, and Dr. Earl Stoddard, Assistant Chief Administrative Officer. And today's guest is Angela Franco, President and CEO of the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, Mr. County Executive. Off to you.
So thank you, everybody, for being here again today. Last night, I was part of the United in Service and Support virtual town hall. The council and I were joined by Senator Chris Van Hollen to discuss and answer questions about where to turn with other questions about what's happening at the federal level. Representative Jamie Raskin intended to be there too, but had a vote on the House floor and he needed to go down there. Although there's going to be much more needed services than we are going to be able to provide, I do believe it's important to be in communication with our residents and help to make sure we can keep them informed about residents, both from ourselves and from the state. The DOGE cuts have a direct impact on many of our residents and their ability to earn a living. We've already seen a number of companies that receive funding from the federal government alert the State Department of Labor of their intent to lay off workers in the near future or to notify the state of immediate terminations. We've received well over notice on well over 1,000 terminations so far. These actions will continue to have a ripple effect in Montgomery County. Just to not make too fine a point of this, but when you lose federal jobs in many of these agencies, you lose jobs in the supporting industries, many of which are in the county, DC and Northern Virginia, and the Prince George's County, where people do work to support the work of an agency like NIH or FDA. So cuts to the federal government mean cuts to the private sector as well. In response, we've tried to connect those affected with the resources that they need. We'll continue to provide regular updates through webinars, newsletters, community meetings, and other channels. Residents can also call 311 within the county and talk to someone to get help and information as well. There's so much happening at the federal level, it's hard to keep up. We learned from Senator Van Hollen's latest newsletter that fired federal employees responding to avian flu outbreaks across the U.S. were fired by the Department of Agriculture and then had to quickly be rehired. They say they mistakenly fired them, just like they said they mistakenly fired nuclear engineers needed to maintain the safety of nuclear facilities. These mistakes are indicative of the lack of attention, quality, and deliberateness of DOGE to pay any attention to the facts and details. No surprise, since their sole goal is crippling and dismantling of our government. Many federal employees are receiving notices they're being fired for performance reasons, even when they've received glowing performance reviews, and nobody in DOGE is reviewing either their job qualifications, their job functions, and how those job functions relate to other larger functions of the agency. And in short, they don't know what these people are doing. They don't know whether or not they're qualified to continue to do the job. They're obviously not qualified, I guess, to fire themselves, which is the only job DOGE cares about. And that's a real problem. This is not the way you restructure a government if you're actually trying to make it better. These aren't just outrageous, they don't make any sense. Sadly, we have no means of providing replacement income for those who have lost jobs. I'm glad to see the state committing more people to its unemployment office and putting job openings front and center, but the need is far greater than the number of jobs that are available. Historically, we've had low unemployment in our county. In the last analysis, our December of 2024, Montgomery County's unemployment rate was 2.4%, very low. We're sure to see that rise as the January and February figures come in, all due to this assault on the federal workforce, contractors, and programs funded by federal agencies. In some better local news, we want to welcome to this briefing Angela Franco, the President and CEO of Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce. Angela took that position 5 months ago, but she's been a Montgomery County resident for much longer. And I think it's been a very 5 busy months with a lot more coming up. So I'm going to turn it over to Angela now. Take it away.
Thank you so much, County Executive Elbridge, and thank you all for joining us this morning. I've been the president and CEO of the Montgomery County Chamber for the last 5 months, and now dealing with all transition with the federal government. We're working closely with the local government and with Economic Development Corporation and also with Workforce Montgomery to bring first-hand information to our residents and businesses that are going through transitions. I'm here today to speak about the Public Safety Awards. We are celebrating this year our 50th anniversary, and it's a great opportunity to celebrate our public servants. I mean, the people that protect us every day. It's a great partnership between the Montgomery County Chamber and the county as well. Would you like me to go into some additional details?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. So we are going to, we're going to have Erica Gonzalez as the NBC News 4, the anchor reporter. She's going to be our Masters of Ceremonies for the event. And as I said before, it's an event that recognizes our public safety heroes. The program provides official recognition to Montgomery County police officers, firefighters, rescuers, and emergency medical personnel who have performed heroic acts and performed community service beyond the call of duty. The award nominations come through 5 Montgomery County agencies. That includes the Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service, the Montgomery County Department of Police, the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, the Maryland National Capital Park Police, Montgomery County Division, and the Montgomery County Department of Correction and Rehabilitation. The awards include Government Partner of the Year, Corporate Vital Link, Public Safety Champion of the Year, and we also have some Valor Awards that includes Gold Medal of Valor, Silver Medal of Valor, Bronze Medal of Valor, Honorable Mention of Valor, Unit Citation, and Community Service. So it is really very important that we come together as a community to celebrate our heroes. I want to thank Dr. Earl Stoddard and all our committee for your support in making it a success. Thank you so much, County Executive. I don't know if there's anything else that you would like me to share at this moment.
I'm really happy to have you on here. I think it's a good chance to introduce you to the wider community. And all my conversations with you have been really good. I appreciate your presence there. And I look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much. Me as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Lorna, you want to ask for any questions?
Any questions from the media for Ms. Franco or the county executive about impacts to private sector business? Ginny?
Hi there. Thank you, Mark. Hi, Angela. I was wondering if you have any resources that you can share for perhaps small business owners that are concerned moving forward into this period.
So, Jeannie, thank you very much for your question. We are at this moment building an emergency website where it has different resources at this moment, and that includes some resources that the county has. The county has some resources as well. The economic development has some resources, and we're also looking into additional resources that we can bring. So if you have ideas in what else you think businesses would need, we're thinking about employment, we're thinking about financing, we're thinking about, if people have already contracts in place and what they need is money upfront, how we can support those issues. If there's anything else, please do. And we're also preparing weekly updates that come directly from the federal government in what is really happening and what legislation has really passed and what is happening in reality, so that we avoid some of the noise that's happening.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the media for Ms. Franco or the county executive on this topic? Going once? Twice? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Franco. You can stay on the call, or if you have to go, you're free to log off if you like. Thank you for joining.
Yes, Mark. I just want to say one more thing before I go. I just want to thank also our the chair of our Public Service Awards, Stephen Robbins. He's been committed to the committee and to the event for many years. So I just wanted to say that before I go. Thank you all very much. Thank you for the opportunity to participate, and I am very happy to be here at the county as well.
Thank you very much. Mr. County Executive, back to you.
All right. On Monday, Montgomery County honored a leader whose vision and integrity shaped its future, Isaiah Ike Leggett. Renaming the executive office building in his name is a fitting tribute to a man whose life's work embodies the very spirit of this community. For decades, Ike led with courage, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to justice. As a council member and later as a county executive, he made space for voices too often unheard. I remember when I first came on the council, when Black neighborhoods were left with crumbling rec centers while other people got nice big facilities, he said no more. And he put forward budgets that prioritized fixing those rec centers that were long overdue, and made investments in those centers and in the communities. And that was something that was greatly appreciated and truly long overdue. When a report from a group that was looking into issues of rental housing, we saw that tenants were not represented on that group. I asked Ike to create a new task force on which tenants were represented, and he actually did that. He brought them to the table, and they created a landmark report that increased tenants' rights and tenant protections. And on a major issue of our time, raising the minimum wage in the face of fierce opposition, he actually came around to support the bill in the end, and that helped us to secure the votes we needed to pass the $15 minimum wage, which actually adjusts for inflation, something Congress hasn't been willing to do. Legislation like this has impacted thousands of individuals and families in the county who struggle at the bottom of the economic ladder, and he demonstrated that he can make courageous decisions that made the county a better place to live for everybody. His leadership was bold, but always guided by humility. At a time when Montgomery County was transforming into one of the most diverse communities in the nation, Ike ensured government met that change with inclusivity, equity, and opportunity. His famous words were, "If there aren't enough seats at the table, we'll make a bigger table." And that was in response to the growing diversity in the county, and the people who normally sat at the table were the usual suspects. And as the county continued to diversify, it was important to bring other people into the decision-making centers. But Ike's legacy isn't this building. It's actually in every school, park, and policy that expanded opportunity here. And it's in the lives that were uplifted by his leadership, whether they knew his name or not. He carried the immense weight of his job with grace, always putting the people first. This building will serve as a reminder of the standard Ike set, one of courage, compassion, and a deep love for the people who live in this county. I'm excited about this week's passage of the Building Energy Performance Standards regulations by the County Council. This follows passage of the landmark legislation in 2022, which expands the county's benchmarking requirements and sets minimum energy performance standards for many existing buildings. The built environment is the leading source of greenhouse gas emissions here, and this is one of the most effective ways to reduce energy demand and carbon pollution. These regulations cover buildings 25,000 square feet or larger, and they account for about 15% of the county's total greenhouse gas emissions. I'm glad that through these new regulations, we'll be able to realize energy improvements for large apartments, condos, and commercial buildings, which will reduce utility costs and create green local jobs. I really want to appreciate the work done by the Department of Environmental Protection and the county's and the council's Transportation and Environmental Committee to address questions from stakeholder groups who want to be environmentally conscious and comply with these new standards. There were multiple meetings over the last year to ensure that we got this right. We have many partners to acknowledge in helping our community prepare for this transition, including the Montgomery County Green Bank, multiple state agencies, and the U.S. Department of Energy for helping mitigate the financial impact of this transition for some of our local businesses. With Tuesday's actions, we'll now be on track and able to report energy use, catalog and track effective conservation methods, and meet long-term energy efficiency standards that help create the greener Montgomery County that we're striving for. So this is a real big deal for us, and I look forward to beginning the full implementation of it. On Monday, I was pleased to help launch the new Daejeon Korea U.S. Global Business Center in Montgomery County in Rockville. Daejeon is our sister city, and we share many things in common, including each having biotech and other advanced technologies as strategic industries. My office was honored to host Daejeon's Assistant Mayor Han and the center's new executive director. The seeds for this partnership began first in 2017 when County Executive Leggett led a delegation to Daejeon. Within the past 2 years, we've strengthened those relationships with a trip involving Chief Administrative Officer Rich Madaleno and then County Council President Devin Glass. I also traveled twice to Daejeon last year to participate in BioKorea and to sign 2 agreements that focused on expanding our sister city relationship with Daejeon to include a greater focus on economic development activity that would benefit both parties. Daejeon's Mayor Lee visited us last summer and spent time at the NIH and FDA. And I know I will be meeting him again at the International Bio Conference taking place in Boston in June. This is an example of how our work to grow relationships through participation in international bio and smart cities conferences and visits with businesses, government, and university leaders will continue to be mutually beneficial. In their new office in Rockville, Daejeon will support its companies seeking to enter the U.S. market, now here in Montgomery County, and to help our local companies looking for partners and customers in Korea. I know our counterparts in Daejeon are very excited about the opening of this international trade office as well. They believe it marks a milestone, and we agree. Our county is ideally located to attract innovative companies looking to expand into the U.S. market. Before getting on to your questions, I'd like to give my health team an opportunity to provide any updates they would like to share with you today.
Thank you so much, Mr. County Executive. I'm just going to share a couple of reminders, particularly geared at all of our residents who are federal employees and might need additional supports from the Department of Health and Human Services. Our Office of Eligibility and Support Services is responsible for determining eligibility for Medicaid as well as qualified health plans, also for our county-run programs, Care for Kids, and our senior dental program. So we would encourage any individual who may have found themselves caught in the crosshairs of the current administration's firings of federal workers to please reach out to see what services we can provide to support you during this transition time. You can reach us and specifically our Office of Eligibility and Support Services by calling 240-777-1003. And now I will turn it over to Sean to provide some updates on our current COVID and flu numbers. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ashford. In brief, we're still seeing lots of pandemic cases across Montgomery County, across the state, across the nation. It looks like we're starting to get closer to the end of that season. However, the state still has its guidance that healthcare facilities institute masking protocols. And so if you are going to an urgent care or a hospital, just be in mind they'll likely ask you to wear a mask if you are a visitor or a patient. Other than that, we hope people remain healthy and hopefully we'll get through this respiratory season with as few serious illnesses as possible.
The only thing that I would add in addition to Dr. Ashford's update is that the county continues to operate its 24 hours a day, 7 days a week crisis helpline for those individuals who may be experiencing crises or mental health challenges. The number again is 240-777-4000. That coupled with those individuals and or family members who may have been disadvantaged with experiencing work loss, we invite you to use our numbers. We're here to help within the Department of Health and Human Services with all of the resources throughout the county. Dr. Stoddard.
And no additional updates to speak.
Thank you, Dr. Ashford, Dr. Bridgers, and Mr. O'Donnell. Any questions from the media for our public health team? No questions? Going once? Twice? Last chance? Suzanne?
Um, I had a question, but not for the health team. Is that?
Okay,
Yeah.
sure. It doesn't look like anyone else did at this point. So if anyone has a question for the health team, this is your last chance. Otherwise, we'll go on to Suzanne.
I was just curious, is this one of the first times we've had an office like from a foreign country set up in the county? Or
Yeah,
is this?
in my recollection, this is the first time something's been set up. Their goal is to help use it as a launching pad for Korean companies in the United States, which we are very excited about. There's a lot of tech over there and a lot of companies that want access to American markets. And the idea that we could be used as a launching pad, I think, is good for the county.
Thanks.
Brad, did you have your hand up next?
I did. As always, I got to be me. It's a different subject.
It's okay. I like it.
So, let me be fair. So there I go. Everyone else, camera's on. So look, I got sent yesterday to BCC. There was an incident. I talked to Dr. Stoddard about it a little bit yesterday. But kids came out and then parents contacted me and said, look, they want school resource officers back. And some were talking about weapons detection system. I know you have community engagement officers now, and that policy has evolved. But Mr. County Executive, where do you stand on that? The parents were saying, hey, we want officers in these buildings, full time again, like they used to be. The officer yesterday was not in the building when the thing happened with the gun. But, on that subject, what do you have to say?
So I'm a little unhappy with the current situation. We agreed to an MOU back when all this was done. And one of the agreements was that an officer would be in the building. They would have a room in the building. They would patrol the building at lunchtime, before school, and after school. Otherwise, be available if an incident happens and be available as needed. But they would be in the building. That got changed to it's the principal's decision whether or not the officers in the school, and the school system did not follow through on what our agreement was. So I was a little irritated to find out that the agreement we signed had gotten changed. We're working with the school administration now. We're hoping to update the agreement and reassure everybody that people are actually going to be in the building. This was a change that was not part of what we originally agreed to, just so everybody knows that.
So you would like to have officers full-time in the high schools?
They should be in the building. They should not be roaming the halls. They're not there to enforce school discipline. They're there for problems that require, are elevated at a higher level. So like I said, they'd be there when the cafeteria is open and students are at lunch, which is, a long time during the day. They'd be out and about when kids are leaving school and coming into school, and they'd be in the office in between. But they would be in the building.
Yeah, Brad, this is something that actually, former Chief Jones, obviously now over at security, had talked about at the beginning of the school years, was having much more consistency instead of these school-to-school variations in how principals were implementing the MOU. And so certainly, I think they're giving an update. We have our Criminal Justice Coordinating Commission this month that meets, or actually next month that meets, to get an update on the implementation consistency across the board. So this has definitely been an issue that I just want to give that additional context where the school system has acknowledged that this implementation has been inconsistent across different schools, and they were looking to improve that. So I think they previously talked about it.
So, Mr. Elrich, has your position evolved from where you were in 2021 when? Look, the first incident at BCC last week was off school property. We know that.
Right.
This kid got in yesterday. It was a realistic looking airsoft gun. We know how the law treats that. It's a weapon. Um, has your position evolved about this whole notion of having police officers in school? You used to think maybe it added to the stress and so on and so forth.
Look, I was okay with the solution of having them in the school, having them public in the most, um, from the time when students were most likely to come in contact with each other, but to have them available in the schools all the time. And I signed that MOU, so I was comfortable with it when I signed that MOU. So I'm still comfortable with that as a solution. I think that that it has a value to be present there because they can get there much quicker. Um, and for people who are worried about enforcing discipline or being used to enforce discipline, um, that's not an issue anymore. I mean, that was the problem with police in the schools in the first place. They were misused by administrators to enforce school discipline, which was never the police department's job. And we've made that clear, and I think everybody understands that now. And I think we're where we need to be.
Right. I know a lot of this is up to the superintendent. The kids were saying, "Hey, how come we don't have metal detectors?" And I know we call them things differently now. They're weapons detection systems, but every kid I talked to said that to me yesterday. What do you think about
That's
that?
interesting because that is a topic of discussion. They are not cheap. You have to figure out where you're going to put them, but I'm not opposed to getting them in there.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anything else you'd like to say to the community on that particular subject?
Um, I guess what happened obviously is unfortunate. I'm a big believer the kids shouldn't be off school campus during the day. They shouldn't be leaving for lunch, um, because they don't always come back. They really need to be in school, and we've got to figure out how to deal with the lunch problem. I mean, the school system exacerbated over years by building lunch rooms that were too small to hold the students, and being left with, well, if we're going to feed them, we have to let them off campus. Um, I I never thought that was a good idea. I didn't think it was. I could see it wasn't a good idea when I was a kid, and I don't understand why we let it get to that point.
All right. Thank you very, very
One
much.
other piece I was going to add, Brad, is that the superintendent's budget request does include funding for 55 additional security officers, and the county executive will be announcing his overall budget, inclusive of the MCPS budget over the coming weeks. And I think obviously we'll have some more to talk about with regard to some potential additional funding for the security in schools. Obviously, a singular CEO/SRO is only a part of the overall security network. You talked about devices, but there's also other MCPS personnel who help provide that security on site. And the county the superintendent's budget did request some additional support in that space as well.
Okay, thank you. I have emails into the school system. I've not heard back. So that's not you. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Yep.
Anyone else from the media have any questions for the county executive on any other topic you'd like to ask at this time? If so, raise your hand. We'll give a count of 3. Going once, going twice. Last chance. Okay, Mr. County Executive, looks like we don't have any further questions this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Have a good afternoon.
Bye.